Hey everybody, Sean here, and welcome to Revealing Truth. And special thanks to Mark Scott for sharing this. Today's video is titled, Jesus Showed Me How to Time Travel Supernaturally. No, he didn't. If we could control time travel, then God would have given us the instructions in the Bible. And if it's not in the Bible, then Troy Brewer is doing what we're told not to do, and that's to go beyond what is written. And of course, he's got a product to sell that teaches us how we can do this too.
You know, Troy, this redeeming the timeline, you have some amazing, when I say amazing, I mean amazing stories of praying with people, which is all can be done just through your CDs and your brand new book of redeeming your timeline. Tell me but this takes the cake, the red ring story.
So one year when I was a very young man, I had two separate friends that their parents were killed in private plane crashes. And one of those girls I didn't see for years and years and years, and I finally ran into her just a few years ago. And we discussed her life, we discussed what had happened from the time that her parents were killed in this tragic, terrible event, how it spun her off. She hadn't been able to have good relationships. She didn't get along well with her brothers and sisters. She didn't get along well with her children. And so I asked her, I said, have you ever asked the Lord into your life? And she said, yes. And I said, well, have you asked God into your life back then? She goes, how can I possibly do that? So I just walked her through and I said, you know, what is the worst part of the whole plane crash that for you? And she just simply said, the fact that it must have been so scary and terrifying. I'm like, well, let's invite the Lord. Let's ask Jesus if he'll actually be in that airplane while that airplane is going down. And she said, we can do that? I said, yeah, he's not subject to time. Let's ask him.
Well, sure, it's true that God isn't subject to time, but none of what he's going to say is found in the Bible. And that's also why he doesn't quote one scripture to support this.
So we prayed this strange prayer. And we invited the Lord into the actual cabin of that airplane to be made manifest. And while we were praying that prayer, the Lord responded, and I saw in my spirit, I heard him say to his wife, God is with us, God is with us. And I saw him put his arms around his wife. And I saw that on his hand, he had this giant red ring. And so I told her this story, and she said, well, my dad was actually wearing a big giant red ring whenever the plane crashed. And she said, we never found it. I don't know where it went, but she said, that's remarkable. I said, well, you know what? We invited the Lord there, and God showed up, and I heard him say, the Lord is with us, the Lord is with us. Well, after that, she got reunited with her brother. And instantly, her relationship started changing. Instantly, God began to do miracles within her life. And her brother said, I think that we should go together out to the plane crash together, to the actual site. Never been out there, more than 30 years. They went out there together. They walked up to the crash site. And right there, 30 years later, was that giant red ring sitting right on top of the ground. It was a prophetic marker.
How many years later?
32, I believe.
Wow. How did it affect her?
It changed her life. She knew now, my parents were not alone. The Lord was with them. And she knew also, I actually had the power in this day to invite the Lord into that place because God is not subject to time. And then you know what? Her marriage was made new. Her relationship with her children was made new. Why? Because the curse from that flow of time had now been redeemed, and now she's walking in a blessing instead of a curse.
Welcome to the new apostolic Reformation and yet another mystical man-made teaching. And if you thought that story was wacky, wait till you hear this next one.
Can you tell me maybe someone that you prayed with or you heard about that was dealing with shame and guilt?
Yeah, we had a guy that actually got out of prison after 21 years in prison, and he came to our church, and after a year he could not find a job. He was scary looking. He had tattoos all over, and you know.
Oh, the prison record.
Yes, and he had this terrible prison record, and he could not find a job. And one day we were praying with him and talking to him, and all of a sudden it occurred to me, you know what, because of his prison record, he needs redemption. Because I don't know how God can do such a thing, but I know that he can, because he cannot have a normal life anymore because of something that happened, decades ago. So I asked him about the day that he was sentenced, and he set the whole thing up. He said, "Oh, Troy, it was the worst day. It was so bad. I knew as soon as the judge hit the gavel, I knew that all I could do was hold my head in shame. My kids were not going to know me. My wife was going to leave me. It was horrible." And so we invited King Jesus to step into that time frame and to be made manifest. We asked the glory of the Lord to cause all of his goodness to pass before him in that place. And he did. The very next day, that was on a Sunday night, on Monday morning, he woke up with an idea of a place to put in an application. He had to walk a long ways. And to make a very long story short, they went to hire him immediately because he's a welder, and then found out he was a felon, and they said, "No, we can't." But they went ahead and ran the make on him. Sid, they could not find a record in the state of Texas saying that that man had been in prison for 21 years.
How is that possible?
It disappeared. And the man told him, "No, I promise I have been in prison." They ran it through again and said, "Well, there's no record." He said, "No, I mean, there is. You're just not looking right. This is my name." They ran it through 3 times, and then they finally said, "Well, we've done our due diligence. We're going to hire you." Sid, that job was not a menial job. It was a job making more than $50 an hour. And it was exceedingly abundantly above all that he could ask or think.
I bet he just couldn't believe that.
He came to the church. He told us, we got him up in front of everybody. He told us, he's like, "Our Redeemer is real. Our Redeemer is real." It's amazing.
So he can't change the past, but he can change the way it affected you.
That's exactly right.
And the devil tampered with you the rest of your life over it.
But this is saying that he changed the past. No, it didn't erase the bad he did, but it erased the records of the bad he did. So that would make God a cheater and deceiver. God can make the best out of any bad situation, but he won't do it and defy who he is. And we know that God cannot lie. These are the end times, my friends, with false apostles and false prophets like we've been warned of. And as for Troy Brewer, 2 Peter 2:3 describes him best. A greedy person that makes up lies to take your money. We've only covered Troy once in the past, and it was on the same topic. And today's video was just a different twist. But if you weren't aware of him, he's definitely on the list to mark and avoid. But we're going to leave it here for today, so leave your comments below, and until next time, take care and God bless.